Good morning. Let me talk about ideas, one of my favoriteest subjects in the whole world. I love talking about ideas. I'm very passionate about ideas. In fact, ideas are kind of my gas tank. I get energy from ideas. That was one of the things that I implemented in my 3x5 goal setting system was this little space, this is right down here, little space for ideas, for your mind to just, anything that your mind picks up during the day. In fact, this was one of the ideas that I wrote down on yesterday's card, my 3x5 card, and I wanted to share it with you. And that is the idea that ideas are everywhere, okay? Ideas are everywhere. Let me tell you just a brief story, and then I'll get to my point after this, premise of ideas are everywhere, because ideas are everywhere, but the rest of that phrase is, but initiative is not, okay? I was developing an app a few years ago and had partnered up with somebody that I reached out to that I really admired, and I was fortunate enough to get his eye and his attention. He came on board as a consultant and a partner in this little LLC that I formed around this app. Pitched the app, I launched it, we got it developed, I raised capital, got it developed, and got it out on the App Store. So tremendously huge learning process. I had no idea what I was doing. The app to date has not been successful because it's one of millions and millions, billions, I think, of apps that are on the App Store now, and there were some things that I should have done different that I didn't, that I learned from. But I went through this process, and when I was hooked up with this guy, he said something that struck me because I'd never heard it said like this before. Because at the time, I was pretty excited about my ideas, and I thought I had something kind of special. I've always been known as a creative person. People have always told me, you're creative, you're artistic. That's why I pursued an art degree, because everyone told me I should, and that's why I'm a creative director by trade, and I've always been in the creative industry in some sort. And even at my day job, I've always done things on the side. I've had a podcast, I've had a blog, I've had invented products, I've done real estate, I've done a lot of things. I've failed at a lot of things, and I've stopped early at a lot of things because my mind bounces around. It's hard for me to stay focused on one thing for a long period of time. That's one of the things that I struggle with the most, that I'm working on. But back in the day, I had met this guy. He was a phenomenal superstar, and I was very fortunate to have him on the team. And I had mentioned to him, because I was kind of excited, I had a whole list of ideas, and at the time these were app ideas, because he was an app developer and knew his way around the app industry. Had done a lot of things in the app industry, a lot of impressive things, and so here I had this connection, and I was developing an app, and I had his eye and his ear, and I said, I've got a whole list of great app ideas. When we get a chance, let's keep this momentum going, and let's pursue some of these other ideas as well. Something along those lines. Just wanted to plant the seed. But I was kind of excited that, hey, I've been, the factory's been producing. I've got some ideas. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember how exactly the response came back. It was a little deflating, but it was a reality call. He said, everybody has ideas. Ideas are all over the place. What's missing in the world is initiative. And so it struck me, and I've been intrigued by that thought for a long time. And it was a little humbling because he's absolutely right. Everybody has ideas. I don't own the market on ideas. You don't own the market on ideas. We all have ideas. Some people have a natural flow for ideas more than others, but everybody has ideas. We all do. And any one of them can be a great idea. It's not the idea itself. It's the execution of the idea. What are you doing about your ideas? Right? So while you may have the best idea in the world, if it's sitting in a notebook on your table at home. It might be better than anything Richard Branson himself has dreamt up, or Elon Musk, or any number of Mark Cuban, you name it, okay? The biggest, brightest, most prominent names in the industry, of the world of entrepreneurship. It might be better than any of their ideas ever combined. And it's sitting in a notebook on a table. You're not by your nightstand or something, or by your bed at home. Well, guess what? That idea is completely worthless to you. It'll be valuable to someone else who will actually do something with it. Now, let's transform that to another guy who has an idea that's mediocre. It's an average idea. But he puts forth an above average effort to execute his idea. Okay? He takes a mediocre idea and he puts a lot of sweat and tears and blood and hard work and nights and commitment behind that idea. All right? Let's compare the two. Who do you think is going to be more successful? Well, I think that's an obvious. The guy with the effort is going to win, hands down, every time. Every time. Because while you do have to have a great idea to do something great, actually, I don't even know if that's true. You have to have something of a great idea. Let's put it that way. It doesn't even have to be a great idea. It can be an okay idea. Executed excellently is going to be a very successful idea for you monetarily. You can execute average ideas successfully and make a lot of money. I see people doing average advertising campaigns making a lot of money, doing really well. I see a lot of companies with average logos. I'm in the design industry, so I look and notice these things a lot, doing very, very well. I see startups with excellent logos that don't do well. It's the effort, it's the execution that makes the difference, the biggest difference. So rather than spend so much focus on your idea, and ideas are great, don't get me wrong, I've got a place for them and that's not going anywhere. I love this about this system. We have to capture ideas. Ideas are what make the world go around. Solutions to your problems. That's all great stuff. But unless you do something about that, unless you turn this card over from, here's the idea, so here's what I'm going to do about it, unless that happens, the idea is completely worthless. So if you're sitting on ideas and you're thinking to yourself, I've got some really cool ideas, look at me, look how great I am, kind of like I was several years ago with a whole bunch of ideas and doing not much about them, take the lesson that I learned, and it is so true. The more I study this thought that I picked up from this partner, whom I could call a mentor, the more I realize that he's exactly right. It's 100% true. An idea journal full of ideas, which I happen to have at home, that can be exciting because you can look at that and say, look at all this potential I have here. It's like looking at, having a bank account, $1 million in a safe, and you don't have the key, but you've got a safe and there's $1 million in there, and you know it's full, it's packed to the brim of $1 million, and it's sitting right in your bedroom. Oh man, that's mine. It's all right there. I sleep next to it every night, and you don't have the safe, or you don't have the code, and you don't have a key. You don't have any way in. You don't have any way to access the money, but the money's still there. Oh, it's there, and you tell all your friends about it. Hey, I got $1 million in my bedroom. It's there, and they go, oh, great, yeah. Why don't you buy, pay off some debt and start investing with it? Why don't you, buy a new home or do this or that? And oh, yeah, well, yeah, I'd like to, but I don't have the access code. Oh, well, then what good is the $1 million? Well, because it's $1 million, it's sitting right there. It's on my nightstand. It's right next to my bed. I sleep with it every night. It's fantastic. I mean, who has $1 million in their bedroom? Who, right? But can you see my point? Unless you take steps forward on something, it ain't going to matter a bit what that is, how great it is. In fact, the better the idea, the more devastating the tragedy that you're not doing anything about it. So, parting piece of guidance, here you go. Don't worry so much about trying to find a revolutionary idea that's going to change the world. You may have that, and that's all great if you do. But if that's the thing that's holding you up, don't let that anymore. Because there's a lot of very, very successful people who have built very, very successful businesses on very seemingly average ideas. They just found a way to position it a little different than everyone else. Or they found something to tweak it so that it served just a little different purpose, or it solved a little different problem. But it was a similar idea as what so many other people have done in the past. So there you go. Take an average idea, tweak it a little, and get to work on it. And do something. Start today. Take small steps. Use your 3x5 cards. Lay out a plan of action. And do small things toward that great idea, or that mediocre idea, or your great idea. But the execution, that's where the money is. It's in the execution. Get started, do something, take action. Don't worry about all the answers right now. Take action, and consistent action. One small step in front of another. Boom, 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 day after day after day. Not knowing what you're doing, that's okay. Take action. Execute, 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 and watch what happens to that idea.